in case those of you got it. Just in case some of you haven't met me before, I'm Rebecca from Purple Dog. We do a little bit like Rob, some WordPress website design, but generally now focusing on social media, training, running workshops, courses, etc. So we generally help small businesses and medium businesses with their social media strategy and accounts. So my kind of role then is to sort of, even if I have a favorite social media account or I see my audience as being on one particular platform, to certainly have a knowledge, even if it's a limited one on some platforms like this one, to have a knowledge about the different platforms, how they function, to be able to advise and teach people about how they work. And so this is very much a getting started introduction. So taking you right to literally what is TikTok, whether it may or may not be appropriate for your business. If you are considering if it is a good fit for your business, perhaps some of the things that you need to think about if you are going to make this work for you, because it is a very different platform to potentially other social media platforms. And that's why some of the younger generation, particularly, we tend to think of TikTok when we think of it, first of all, as it being a younger generation platform. And like we've already sort of joked about, like, do I need to dance? Do I need to point? And all those kind of things. That perhaps used to be true initially when it came out as kind of the trend, but people have adapted it and made it more of useful for them. So we're going to look at certainly these things, and then I'll attempt to answer any questions. We'll look at the app itself, but we're going to certainly take a look at what, first of all, TikTok is and what it isn't, and if it may be a good fit for your business. And even if it is a good fit for your business, then can you manage to make this work for you? So we're going to have a good tour of the app, because it is different to, say, the Facebooks of the world, how to actually create a video, how to edit a video, and more. So let's get started with what is it, first of all. So first of all, why it's relevant and why everyone kind of knows about it, even if they haven't really adopted it or dived into it. It is one of the fastest growing social media platforms. And last year, it was literally the most downloaded app in the world. So it's certainly one that's getting attention. It's certainly one that people are downloading and perhaps having a nose at. Not necessarily everyone is then actually being active on it. So, and the reason for this is it is very heavily based on video. And in fact, it is only video. You can only do video pretty much on TikTok, or at least a slideshow that makes a video. So it's a video sharing network that basically allows users to create, share, and discover, and they're short videos. And the reasons why it's kind of grown so quickly is because it creates such short content that it's kind of quite addictive, where you get that quick hit and you scroll and you keep scrolling because there's another video to watch very quickly. And it's almost like, oh, it's not like watching a Netflix film where it's like, oh, I'll take a break before or at least go for a wee before I watch the next one. It's that constant kind of scroll feel to it. And the average TikTok user, and that's not to say we're all average TikTok users here, but the average TikTok user will spend almost the length of a good Netflix documentary, 52 minutes of their day on the app. So it's certainly being used. And initially, it was known very much, and perhaps it still is in some circles, for being fun, lighthearted, and humorous. And initially, the app's audience was very much reserved for the younger generation, Gen Z teens, who did very much enjoy dance videos and replicating them and all of those kind of trends, but not necessarily anymore. In fact, the average users is up, and 47% of TikTok users are aged between sort of 10 to 29. in age. So it is a very young platform. So if you are trying to reach young people, that's definitely the place to be. But as most social media platforms go, it ages up, and it ages up all the time. So actually 42% of its users are actually aged 30 to 49 already. So that's not to say everyone's creating videos, but certainly people are perhaps there lurking around having a watch. And perhaps one good thing, and interestingly, actually, 61% of users are female, which isn't necessarily something I would have initially thought of when I sort of got on to the platform. I would have thought it was perhaps swayed a little bit more or fairly evenly split. So it is slightly different, and we'll go through how it's different and the different video tools, but it is aging up already, and people are sort of going over there, even if they're not necessarily creating. And that's one of the things I think that perhaps is a challenge sometimes for businesses, is that there are a lot of people perhaps on there who have created account, like we've kind of already said, we've created accounts, we're sort of having a look occasionally, but we're not necessarily creating. And so then in terms of perhaps finding people to engage with like you would on other platforms, to follow and chat with and start that sort of following and interaction, is perhaps a little bit more difficult than what we are used to with our other strategies. So we take a look first of all at the actual app itself. Now, in some ways, this is a simpler social, and this is why some people like it. This is a simpler social media platform than other platforms. Because if you think about it, with Instagram and Facebook, for example, you've got Instagram stories, you've got Facebook stories, you've got the feeds, you've got reels, you know, short form videos. There's all these different nuances that you have to learn on Facebook and Instagram, and then different ways of creating that content. You can do links on Facebook and you can't do those on Instagram, all those kind of things. And in some ways, TikTok is easier because it's video. It is just video. So that's what you're creating, that's what you're watching, and that's how it's scrolling. And so there's not, you know, you need to do this, or you have to do that, or you have to do this one time, and you have to create posts for this kind of area or that kind of section. So it is just video, and in that sense, it's a much simpler app. So sometimes that's the attraction for some people. So if we take a look, when you open the app, and we'll also look at how you actually create an account and switch it to business, if you want to create it for a business account, we'll talk about how and why perhaps you should do that. But as you open the app, once you're kind of logged in, you will see at the top a For You section, and by default it's going to open, as you open your app for the first time, it's going to open onto the For You section, and this is kind of suggested content. And at first, when you open it for the first time, it doesn't know you, so it doesn't know what you like unless you've uploaded loads of contacts that are already on TikTok and those kind of things. It doesn't know you, so it does take a little bit of time to perhaps bear with it and find content initially that kind of suits you and interests you. Because when you open it, it could be anything from those dance routines to silly sketches to, and then you start going, well, hang on a minute, how is this translating to me as a business, and how am I using it as a business? Because you kind of go, well, I'm not seeing the same sort of things that I would normally see when I log on to those other platforms that I'm already active on, because those algorithms on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest have already learned the sort of things that you're interested in your search behavior and your interaction behavior. And so it can feel a bit strange and a bit of a waste of time, because you've almost got to teach it what you like again. So at first it will do suggested videos, but of course it's based on your previous activity. And if you haven't had any previous activity, then it won't know what you like and what you don't like. So again, when you open the app, if you're going to use it for business and you're on your business profile that you're creating, you need to be quite strategic about the sort of things that you search for and the sort of things that you interact with, because you're going to teach this algorithm what you want to see. And so if you're interacting with funny dog videos, but actually that's not useful to your business, that's what it's going to show you. It's going to show you more funny dog videos. So you've got to think about it and think about what actions you take when you're on your business profile. So of course, the more people that you follow and the more you engage, with the accounts that you like, the more personalized your feed is then going to become. And once you start finding people to follow that you like, then you've got the option to switch to your following feed, which is the left-hand side. So it's like a toggle. And the following video feed will then show you the accounts that you follow. So you'll be able to see all the latest videos from the people that you follow. So you kind of get this experience where it defaults first to the things I think you're going to like or introduce you to, which may or may not be some of the people that you're following, but it's more likely to be new people. Or you can switch very much, and if you're short on time, once you start using the app, if you switch to the following feeds, then you'll be able to see the people that you follow and interact with them. So that's the top toggle section first of all. So once you then follow someone and they follow you back, you then become friends. So when you can then go into your friends tab at the bottom and just see your friends, and they're kind of the people that are engaged with you and you're engaged with them. So again, that can be a different experience as well. So there's a difference to the people you're following, and I guess if you're following the likes of, say, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, they may not follow you back. So if you want to see those kind of things or see bigger industry accounts, you'd go into your following tab. But if you want to interact with the people that you actually know and are following you, then you would perhaps go into the friends tab at the very bottom. So there's 3 different areas that you can find videos based on how you want to interact and who you want to interact with. And this is where I guess it helps with spam that sometimes we get on the likes of Instagram and Facebook and all those, particularly Instagram and Twitter, I find, where you get people direct messaging you. And actually on TikTok, you can only direct message the people you are friends with. So not people you are following or people that follow you, but if you have to be following them and they have to follow you back before you can send them a direct message. So I guess that's, again, what's I like about it is a more closed network. So you can really consider who you perhaps put into that. So you can only then direct message people who are your friends, people that follow you and you follow. So when you get on TikTok, I guess if you want to kind of educate it about the things you want to see and start looking for things perhaps in your area or in your industry, heading first of all to the magnifying glass in the top right area, where you can go to the Discover tab. And it will give you a Discover feed with things like things that are trending. And that just means that it's popular, not necessarily that it's what you want to see. It's just what's trending at the moment. Particularly trending users, particularly trending sounds, and particularly trending hashtags. And equally on the search here, you can start putting in keywords. So it might be, for example, if you're in the New Forest area, you might try putting in New Forest, or if you like Lyndhurst Community Centre and you want to find people who are on TikTok around Lyndhurst, you might put in Lyndhurst, for example, and see the sort of accounts and the sort of videos that come up, and you can start finding people that way. Or you can put in hashtags that you know work perhaps on other platforms and see what comes up. Or if you know the name of someone already, you could put the handle of the account in here and search for them that way. So chances are if someone's on another social media platform, you can come and have a little stalk and see if they're active on this platform too. But again, just putting in keywords and seeing what comes up. So again, if you're into, you know, like you were saying with Forest Forge, youth theatre, for example, you could put in and see what comes up. You're probably going to get a wealth of things, to be honest, on youth theatre on TikTok. So that's how you can start searching. And again, it's going to start learning what sort of things you're searching for, and it's going to start suggesting more content in the For You feed around those lines. So then, of course, any social and excuse me, to make any social media platform work and work for you, you want engagement. So where does that happen on TikTok? Well, you've got on any video, as you see, you've got the ability to like it when you're watching it, the ability to comment on the next one down. You've got the ability to save it, and you've got the ability to share it. And you'll quite often see shared videos on other platforms like Facebook, and even Instagram, where it's got the TikTok watermark. So when it gets shared to another platform in the right way, it will credit the user in that respect. So that's where these items happen. And where obviously if you are watching videos that you enjoy, even if you don't follow them, you can like them or comment on them. And again, it's going to show you more of those kind of videos. And that's obviously what, as business owners and as anyone trying to use TikTok, where we want to see some action, but it is a little bit more hidden than perhaps some of the other platforms where it's directly underneath the post, it's over the top overlaid. So we're just going to continue with our tour around the screen. So down the bottom here is kind of like your profile, where you find your information. And TikTok is really succinct. And some people will like that because it means they don't have to write long captions, they don't have to write lots of information, but it can make it quite a shift in your thinking if you've been on other platforms to then think about your strategy and how you're going to use it. If you're used to writing, you know, 4-paragraph long captions on Instagram, and you know, even your Instagram, you only get 80 characters for your bio. So when people come across you, say come across one of your videos or search for you, you've literally got 80 characters to kind of say, follow me because, and I'm interesting because, so it's not a lot of information. So you really need to think about what are those 80 characters are going to be. And like any social media platform that you're getting on as a business, ideally you want the same username across all platforms, because that's how people know to find you. That's if people are mentioning you on different platforms, it's very easy for them to do so. So or as part of the sign up, you get to create your username. You can change it every so often, but obviously you don't want to change it every so often. You want to get the same username as it will be on other platforms ideally. And you want to set up your profile so it's most likely you're going to want to convert it to a business account. And the reason for that is you'll get a link, because the only place you can share a link on TikTok is in your profile. Now, same as with Instagram, if you're on Instagram, as soon as you convert it to a business account, you don't get so much access to the music. So you've got to kind of weigh up again as you're starting and thinking about your strategy as you come onto this platform. What's more important to me? Do I want and need to take part in trends and music and use trending audio? Does that fit for my business, and is that going to help me reach the people that I want? And we'll talk a little bit about trending audio in a minute. Or is it more important that I have somewhere that I can link and drive people to? What are people more likely going to want to do? So it's that kind of catch up. You can be a normal account and not have a link, but get more access to music, or you convert to a business account, get insights, analytics, use some scheduling tools, because some scheduling tools are now available with TikTok, and add your link to drive people to, because again, on captions, they're really limited and links don't work in captions. So you need to think about that kind of before you start and what your strategy is going to be. So this is what your profile looks like. And again, this is 80 characters. So you get literally a very small amount of space to say what it is that you do. Same kind of strategy goes for your logo. If you're a business photographer, it might be that you use your headshot, depending on what you do, what's more appropriate. And generally you will use the same one across all platforms, so people will recognize you instantly. So you will be able to upload that, and you can edit your profile at any time, and you can add. So what kind of helps is you can add, I think it's YouTube and Instagram. So worst case scenario, if you can't add a link and you want to have music, you can always drive people perhaps to another social media platform, but that seems a bit backwards to me. It's almost like a 3-step process. You're trying to drive people to Instagram to then get to your link, to then get to your website. It's kind of like, So you've got to really think about how you do this. And then you have on your profile the videos that you've published, or drafts and tabs and favorites in this section here. So we'll go through how to do this so that we can sort of see how the steps that you would take. Now, when you switch to a business account, to add a link, before it used to be very easy to just add your business link. And now they've kind of restricted the process because a lot of people are using it inappropriately. So now you kind of have to verify that you are a business. And when you go to convert it to a business account to allow you to add a link, it does actually ask for a registered business number, which is like VAT or company's house. But I found I'm not VAT registered and I'm a sole trader. So that's kind of not relevant for me. And I was like, well, how am I going to get around this? And so actually I did get around it because it was more important for me to have the link in this instance than it was perhaps to have the trending audio. And I actually got around it by adding my taxpayer number and uploading bank account evidence and tax docs. So it did actually allow me then to add the information, even though it was kind of suggesting it had to be VAT or company's house. So you can kind of get around it that way. So let's have a little think about, is TikTok going to be for you before we get on actually how to then make TikTok videos. At the end of the day, if you're going to be on TikTok, you're going to have to get comfortable making videos because there's only videos. So you kind of have to weigh that up because they are more time consuming and you can get quicker at it, but it is still not as quick as showing an image or showing a link and drafting a caption. It's still not as quick as that. No matter what kind of videos you create or how simple you make them, it's still not as quick. And that's not to say you have to have your face on. It's not to say that you have to string lots of sections together. You can literally do slideshows or, photos strung together to make a video. There's different ways of doing it, but you do have to create video. That's what the platform is. And so you need to think about, first of all, is your audience there or going to be going there soon? Because if they're not there and not spending their time there, do you want to invest the time creating videos? So you need to think about, before you start, you need to think about how often you can post, because creating video is more involved. And so you are going to have to do that. And therefore, to be present on this platform, you are probably going to have to be successful, let's be honest, be making a bare minimum of 2 to 3 videos a week. Because otherwise, where is that interaction with your audience going to be? And personally, at the moment, I don't feel my audience is there, because obviously I train people on social media, and if most of them are sort of on TikTok, they're kind of mastering most of the other platforms. So for me, there's not a lot of my audience, although they probably will be gravitating there slowly as things change. So at the moment, I personally don't invest a lot of time. You go to my TikTok account, there'll be a few videos, and I don't open it daily. I don't perhaps even open it weekly. And I have had a look. So for me, at the moment, the time investment to do it properly isn't going to pay off with my audience. And that's my personal opinion, but you do have to think about, well, hang on a minute, if I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it well, And it may be that you sort of get on, you secure your username and you create a few videos every now and then, but it isn't your main platform. It isn't your main focus. But if it is going to be a focus and it is going to have a strategy behind it where you're trying to reach your audience because your audience are here and you think it is a good fit for your business based on what you do, you need to think about, can I literally create that content, or do I need to make time and take focus away from other things to create this content to make this work? And social media across all platforms is definitely veering towards video first, as we've seen with the likes of Facebook and Instagram. But like for me, I can get away with doing one reel a week on Instagram and then doing a static post and a feed post and some stories. And that works. That balance work for me as a strategy. Whereas if I was on TikTok and really putting TikTok as first in one of my platforms that I focus on, I would have to probably be creating at least 3 videos a week. And so for me, I'm like, I haven't got time for that at the moment. My focus is on other things. So you do kind of have to think going into it strategically. And of course, deciding when and how often you post. You have to have 100 followers for your analytics to kick in to tell you what's working or what's not working. So that's quite an uphill kind of struggle as well. And of course, if people are active on TikTok, they're going to want to see you being active on TikTok if they're going to follow you. They don't want to just follow a dead account. They don't want to follow someone who just sits there and lurks and doesn't ever engage. And you'll find that with a lot of people, particularly perhaps in our age bracket, is that a lot of people are there and they've sort of got an account. They never post. They're sort of there, they're lurking, they're watching, but they haven't posted yet. And part of that is, what the heck do I post? Part of it is, I'm not sure I want to post yet. Part of it is, I don't even know how to, use this platform yet. But it is a very imperfect app. You don't have to have massively staged productive videos. It doesn't have to be perfect. And you can show your personality. It's very much an authentic kind of app. But at the moment, there are limited opportunities to drive traffic to your website. There's no clickable links and video captions. There's no story links. And e-commerce is kind of coming, and I'll come on to that in a minute. So if you do have a physical product shop, it might be something that you want to consider, particularly if people do buy things from TikTok. Definitely, there's that saying, isn't there? TikTok maybe buy it. So people are definitely influenced, and the younger generation will even go and research products and decide purchases based on TikTok videos. So it's definitely kind of going that way. So but you do have to think about, before you go, I'm going to get on TikTok, I'm going to do TikTok, I'm going to master it. You need to think about the time it's going to perhaps take you and how you're going to make it work for you. And you're going to need to experiment to see what works for you, and try some different things from what's perhaps previously worked on other platforms. So let's say you're on board. Let's say you're like, yes, I'm going to give it a go. I'm ready to create some video content. Now, what I will say is it's less complicated. If you've ever tried to create an Instagram reel, it's less complicated. There's less buttons. You literally come in to TikTok and it's front and center, and you create a video by clicking the plus button. And you're literally like press and hold to record, and you can obviously face the camera outwards, or you can face the camera inwards, just like with anything that way. And they do have some templates, but they're not necessarily always going to be right for business, but you can go and have a look. And so you record, and again, similar to Instagram Reels, if you've dabbled in those, you can record at different speeds. So you can record at fast speed, at normal speed, at slow speed, depending on what type of video you're trying to create. But equally, like I said, sometimes it's simpler to create a string of photos or slides, if you like, graphics. You can also, use this button here, the upload button, to press upload, and then you can select multiple clips directly from your camera roll, whether that's photos that you put together or video clips that you've already recorded. Now, what I find a bit frustrating, and they may change this, is I can't do a mixture of those two things. I can't start by recording a video and then add clips or photos from that recording to make a longer video. So I find that a bit frustrating that I can't mix, having just started to record and then upload some other perhaps previously recorded videos. What I can do is stop, pause, and then take another clip and string those together, but I can't mix, upload, and record. So you kind of almost have to decide to either record all your clips first and then string them together, or record in one go, which isn't always practical with dogs flying around and kids running around and goodness knows what else. And equally, if you're trying to then show something else, like a clip from something you recorded earlier, you can't do that. So you kind of have to think about how you're going to do this. So I find that a bit restrictive, but that's just something to think about. It seems a bit odd that it's one or the other, and whether they'll change that. It seems a simple thing to do for me to be able to allow the mix, but there you go. So it may be best to record all your clips first, and then you can upload them in the order that you want to. And then editing, again, is quite a simple app to use, which is good in some ways and restrictive in others. So once you've then done your clips, you can trim them and you can then reorder them. So you can do it that way. But again, you can't do this mix of upload, which seems a bit odd. And then once all your clips are kind of in the editor, you can then add finishing touches. So it may be that you've done a voiceover head-on video, or you might have done a packing video, or those kind of things. You can then add some text over the top, for example. So very similar then. You come back, if I come back to this, you can then add your text. So you can add sound and you can add filters and all those kind of things, but you can add text over the top and you've got different fonts, and you can set it very much in the way that you can with Instagram Reels. The text can come in and out of your video so that it kind of gives that kind of running commentary over the top, particularly if people don't have their sound on. And I guess that's quite important because you don't have a lot of information in the caption like you can with Instagram or Facebook. So you kind of have to make the most of the text coming in and out of your video if you're trying to get a certain message across, particularly if you're not doing a voiceover style and you're doing it to music. With music, you can add the sound at the top here and select music on that way. And then you can alter the volume coming down into here. And that allows you then to, if you've recorded a voiceover or there's music in the back, noise in the background of your recording, you can either adjust the volume so that that comes up over the background music, or you can take that completely down depending on what kind of video you're trying to make. And then the other way that you can find audio to use, particularly if you're trying to use certain audios that you've seen in other clips, because that's very much how this kind of trend culture works, and it's not necessarily right for every business to jump on a trend or jump on trending sounds, but it is that kind of ethos where people recreate videos based on certain sounds and they take their own spin on it, if you like. And as you watch more TikTok videos, you'll kind of see certain things, certain sounds coming over and over again. And so if you're watching a video at any point, you know, oh, I quite like that music, or I quite like that sound. Can I use that in some way for my own video content? As you're watching, if you click on the sound at the bottom, you can then use potentially, I say potentially, that music, because as a business, certain commercial music, of course, may not be available to you. So you, again, this is where you have to weigh up the music or if the link is more important. So then if you click on it, you can then either use it immediately, you can get straight on to record that video, or by clicking on that button, or you can see here, you've got the add to favorites. And that's quite a common thing to do as you're sort of scrolling through, to sort of save sounds for inspiration for use later. And if you add it to your favorites, then you can come back in under your profile at a later date to find all those sounds you've saved. So you've got all these different, it's under the saved section here. So if you save sounds, that's where then you can find them. Now, of course, with trending sounds, they don't stay trending forever. So you can save all these sounds, but if you don't use them probably within a week or so, it's likely that the trend side of things will perhaps come down and they're kind of overdone and everybody else is already over it. So you kind of have to jump on trends if you're going to use trends quite quickly, which is where you then need to be active on the app quite a lot. So it's weighing up those two things. And again, if you're trying to schedule posts, it's a bit more difficult if you want to use trending sounds, because you can't add a sound in terms of the music or an already used audio in scheduling tools. You can record a video and upload sound, but again, if you use commercial music and you haven't got a license to use that, then you enter issues. If you're doing talking over videos or using royalty-free music and then just put text over the top, then you can schedule TikToks, and that takes some of this frustration away. What you can't do with scheduling is then use their text over the top. So you need to think about those kind of things. But sometimes it is actually easier, particularly if you're using more than one platform where you want to repurpose video to. So like if you are wanting to do Instagram Reels, for example, as well as TikTok, and repurpose those videos for those different platforms, it's better not to download one and upload it to the other, because neither's going to really like that. Because if you download TikTok and put it on Instagram, then you get a TikTok watermark. And Instagram have actively said, well, we don't really want to obviously promote TikTok, because that's the main reason we're now doing Reels, is to compete with them. So we start promoting TikTok on our own platform. That's not really going to help us. And likewise, if you download an Instagram video once it's published to upload to TikTok, you get a Instagram watermark at the bottom and it lays over the text. So if you are going to use video content that you want to use across different platforms, you're probably better using something like CapCut or InShot to string your video together first, create all those bits and pieces, do your text over, and then upload it to these different platforms. And then you can equally upload it to these different platforms at different times with different messages and different calls to actions based on those original platform formats. So sometimes it can be better to do that. You do lose some of the extra juice that they say, you know, like it's better to use the Instagram text and to use the Instagram editing if you want to succeed on Instagram. It's marginal though. And if you're trying to do both, then it's perhaps better to do it, edit off and then do both rather than trying to download one to the other. So you'll probably find, you know, you'll have to experiment and see what works for you. So then you've created your video, you've made a lovely video, you're ready to go, you've added your text, you've sorted out your music. Then you get 150 characters to add as your caption, including hashtags, if you want to use them, to try and get your message across to your customers and potential audience on what you like them to do now they've watched your lovely video. So it's not a lot of information. So again, like I said, it does need some careful consideration compared to perhaps what you've been doing. And again, you know, there is only one link. So if you've added your link, you can drive them to your link, and you can use something like Linktree if you want to be able to then use different links. So call to action in terms of the caption that you're going to do. And I found that personally really difficult to adjust to, having a very small caption length to then add value more to my video. So you really need to think about how you're going to do this. And again, it will suggest some hashtags to you. Again, like you do with any platform, have a look at those hashtags and what other content comes up on those hashtags before you start using them, because you may not want to be associated with those hashtags and how they're used on this particular platform. It's interesting because like I went to promote TikTok, for example, this session and another session I'm running later on next month, and looked up and I thought, the hashtag TikTok or TikTok workshop or things like that is probably a bit iffy anyway to use on Instagram, because I'm kind of promoting against Instagram. But I then went and looked, and actually I looked at all the TikTok hashtag common hashtags on Instagram. I was like, oh no, I do not want to be associated with that, because they were all quite chesty girls, shall I say. So so it's worth looking at what you're using before you use them and where you fit and whether it's going to work. And again, you kind of accept the music usage confirmation. So if you are, it's worth looking at the terms and conditions, particularly if you're going to upload something with music rather than taking it from the platform already. So you can, this is not a link, it can link to certain things. It's not a link in the truest format of the sense. Again, you can tag people. You can select it so it goes to everyone. You can select it so it goes to your friends. You can select it so it just goes to your followers. You can allow comments. You can allow duets, which is where someone can kind of redo it, and allow stitch where they stitch it together. And you can automatically share it to WhatsApp and Instagram as well. But again, with most cross-platform posting, it's generally not advised to do that because the format's very different and the nuances are very different. So it's better to kind of do that yourself. And of course you can draft it. So this is a way of batching it as well. If you don't have a scheduling tool, you can draft a load and then post them at optimum times that you think are going to be optimum time. So you can have a day filming, particularly if you've got to produce 3 a week, you'd have a day filming for say a month, and then draft and then post them all throughout the week. Just set a reminder somewhere on your phone to do that. So that's where you would post. But you've really got to think about, in terms of, especially if you're starting to grow, in your caption, the keywords you want to be found for. So again, you need to really think about crafting those to help with discoverability where you're new on the platform. And then to finish off, you can select a cover and add a cover. And they have set covers that you can have. You can have none. You can't upload one, interestingly, like you can on Instagram. So again, this is where it's like, it's simpler. But then you go, particularly if you've been using Instagram, you're like, well, I can't do that on here. So you have to, it's simpler. So it's easier in some ways, but there's less features. So that's a good thing because it makes it easier to use, but it means there aren't as many features. So you can't upload a cover. You can use their cover and then add your text, and you can drag an image. So if you've already got text on your screen, for example, or it's a particular slide that you have at the beginning, you can select it to that to act as your cover. And this is one thing where I've kind of been playing with the app. I've not been very strategic about, because I've kind of used a scheduling tool to save myself time where it's not my main focus. But if I was making it my main focus, I would post within the app, because then I can select my cover more strategically. And so when people come back to my profile, if they're looking at my videos on my profile, the cover image will sort of give them an insight into what my videos are about. And I haven't done that strategically, and it doesn't necessarily entice people in to then follow me and see what that video is about. So if you are going to make it part of your strategy, you probably want to think about how you do that and actually post perhaps natively to the app so that you can have that, because there is no way to upload a cover image or edit it afterwards particularly easily either. So that's worth thinking about, particularly where you're starting to grow your account. Might not matter when you've got thousands of followers, because, you know, you've got that vulnerability then. But when you're starting out, it's probably going to matter where people are deciding, do I follow you or not? What your video is about. You know, it will tell you a bit about what that video is going to be, that will entice me then to potentially watch it and hook me in. And if I watch it and I like it, I'm then more likely to follow you, comment, save, share, all of the above. Now, I've mentioned plenty of time for questions, and I will do my best to answer them shortly. We've kind of talked about this word trend and trend culture, and this is kind of, I guess, why it caught on so quickly, particularly with the younger generation. It did start off as kind of dance trends or things that you copy. So they are a big deal on TikTok, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to use them for your business. So if you hear, as you're watching and you're scrolling, the same sound over and over again, it probably means that it's trending. And you can tap into it and see how many accounts are using it. And if it's a big number, there's a lot of accounts that have used that sound, then it's likely to be a trending sound. So in other words, it could be potentially a good sound to jump on because lots of people are using it. And if people are then looking at how other people have used it, you're likely to come up. And so TikTok does have a very big trend culture. And it kind of means that the content is kind of easier to replicate by the masses, or it can be spun off quite quickly, or a trend that you can start that perhaps can be spin off in terms of sound or what you're actually doing in the video could give you good viability potential. And they're not just limited to dance routines. You're not going to have to necessarily get out your dancing routines. There's trends for almost everything. Lip syncs to audio is quite common. And then there's transitions that are quite common to pull off, particularly if you're in the fashion or beauty industry, or comedy moments. And then there's camera hacks and random filters that kind of do the rounds as well. But it depends on your business and whether it's going to be appropriate for you to use it, or if you can adapt it in a way that's still going to come across in your brand voice and how you want to use it. Now, I mentioned e-commerce, and this is starting to get bigger. So you can see, similar to Instagram and Facebook, you have the ability to tag your products and make them directly then shoppable within TikTok. And you can see then how certainly the impulse buying generation are more likely to perhaps purchase your products. You'll notice that it doesn't direct you to your website. It is the TikTok shop. And the reason I sort of mention that quite carefully is because it takes 5% of your hard-earned pennies. So when you're putting your products, and of course there are restrictions, there are only certain products that can go, like with most, you can't do alcohol, you can't do digital virtual products like courses and memberships and things. So the same sort of restrictions apply like they do with most social media platforms and selling restrictions for obvious reasons. You can't, sell guns, drugs, or even health products that could be consumed. So if you're sort of around those sort of areas, you may find that it's not an option. But regardless of your e-commerce shop, TikTok's going to take 5% and you set it up on the TikTok platform. Some providers have a syncing catalog to, like WooCommerce, Rob, for your knowledge, if you ever get asked. They do allow you to at least sync your catalog, so you haven't got to sit there and manually upload all of your products directly on your phone via TikTok. But it's going to do it. It will sync the catalog, but it will sell it through TikTok, and it will take that 5% commission fee. If you are considering using TikTok and launching a shop on TikTok, when you first do it, you get 90 days of actually having a 1.8% commission fee. So if you're going to do it strategically with a rollout so you can make the most of that initial launch time. And of course, you have to have successful registration as well. But it will revert back to that 5% afterwards. And they are really quite hot because you think, well, I'll put them on there and then sort of redirect them in the caption or on the video to my actual shop, so I don't get hit with that 5% commission. They're really hot on that. So if you're trying to do that, be really careful so that you don't kind of get blocked on that. And equally, if you're setting up your e-commerce shop on TikTok, you have to also use one of the approved integrated carriers to fill your orders. So you'll have to go and have a look and see what options they allow you to ship with and what shipping terms you have to comply with, like speed of delivery, those kind of things, and like refund terms that you have to abide with. And you have to be quite hot on the app as well, because if someone requests a refund, if you haven't responded within a certain amount of time, it just automatically approves it. So again, if you go, there are benefits definitely to potentially, if your audience is there, to perhaps have products on TikTok and sell them, particularly if you are targeting a younger audience. But you kind of have to have this strategy in place and thinking about it before you go ahead and do it, because of the complications and the differences that you'll find compared to other platforms that you've previously used for e-commerce. But it's quite easy to set up. I can put I'll put a link if you're interested into the chat for more information on where you can go to find out more about this. And their stuff's fairly good in walking you through what you need to do. So at least it gives you all that information. You can go and read the information on the steps that you need to take. And they're quite clear. It was very easy to find out very quickly that it took 5%, for example. So it is quite clear. So thinking about success though. So you need to think about, particularly if you're starting out, using relevant keywords or hashtags in your captions, and it's really limited. So getting those in your 150, you have to be a bit more strategic about it than you perhaps would in other accounts. Again, being consistent in your niche is going to be a big thing for TikTok. You know, like I say, creating at least 2 to 3 videos a week is probably going to be something you're going to need to be prepared to do to become successful on TikTok. Even if you're, you know, creating really high quality videos once a week, that's probably not going to be enough to gain traction. You want to look at trending audio and whether it's a good fit, because you'll probably find you gain traction quicker and easier. But then you need to think about, am I reaching the right audience by doing that? So yes, you'll probably get more followers. Yes, you'll probably get more video plays by using trending audio, but you've also got to consider, is that then helping me reach the right people on TikTok that I'm trying to reach? And if it is the younger generation who like those sort of things, then yes, maybe. But you've got to think, actually, is it better for me not to have so many video plays or so many likes and comments, but actually reach the right people? Shorter videos are obviously going to help. You can post up to 10 minutes on TikTok. I don't know anyone that's watched a TikTok video that's 10 minutes long. But if you think about it, the shorter it is in some ways, the more play counts it's going to get. Because, you know, if you do about a 7-second video, they'll probably watch it again and again. And then that indicates that someone's watched it again and again. But then you've got to think about, how do I get across what I want to get across in 7 seconds with 150 characters in my caption? So it's that kind of, and sometimes longer form content works for different businesses based on what they do. Posting at optimal times is going to help. I don't yet know what my optimal times are because I've got 100 followers. So I can guess based on knowing my target audience and what their habits are likely to be. I would imagine that if any of my audience do stray onto TikTok, it's more likely to be evening. And therefore I'm more likely to get seen if I'm posting in the evening because it's fresher content. And you are going to have to post quite regularly. People that generally have success with TikTok, as a rule of thumb, do post regularly. I wouldn't say you need to post several videos a day as a business, like some people will tell you, but you are going to need to post probably 2 to 3 videos a week if you're going to have this as your main platform that you drive people to you from. So what on earth do you post? So let's have some ideas. Depending on what you do is going to depend on what you post. And again, the best thing to do is think about what are you already finding works perhaps in different formats on other social media platforms. So if you find educational content works really well on, yeah, Jan's going to come in and out because she's not got this sound, no image. So if you find educational content works well on other platforms, you can then think about how you can make that educational content, if it was in perhaps an image or photos or even text or links from a blog, how can you repurpose that sort of information into a video? So you can think about how you would then adjust that into your video strategy. You can do behind the scenes business routines. People love that kind of thing where perhaps if you're packing up orders or you're doing production process or showing a little bit about yourself and how you work in your general day. Now you can't do that all the time and find that you're going to generate leads and orders and all those kind of things, but doing a little bit of that certainly isn't going to hurt. If you're a bigger company, you can showcase your employees or your members in different ways, and you can do like product teasers, features, demonstrations and all those kind of things. But perhaps the easiest thing to get started with, if you're really kind of new and don't want to put your face on camera, is kind of photo slideshows strung to music with text over the top. That's probably the easiest way to get started and start experimenting with the platform. So I've kind of whistled through a really kind of quick getting started intro to TikTok. Obviously it is a big platform with different nuances. Do we have any questions? Lots probably. Justine, do you want to start? And I'll kick
off. Thank you so much. That's been a massive eye-opener. Slightly scary, but at the same time you've made it really clear, and I think where we're all probably using different bits of social media in different ways, it's really helpful to understand kind of how it all fits in the jigsaw. So super helpful, thank you. As a sort of first pass, because I realise as you described it's kind of history and sort of as it's moving into the more business sphere, are there any particular companies that you would highlight that any of us could look at, for example, where you think they're doing this really well?
I mean, I can probably find some and send them with emails. It depends on what sort of industries you're in. That's the thing. I would go and have a look at perhaps some of the people that you're following on, on say Instagram or Facebook, and you think do that really well, and then go and look and see if they're looking for, if they're doing it on TikTok. I mean, because I don't follow a lot of people yet on TikTok. One that I thought is quite interesting, just to get the idea of how you can do things a bit differently. Like I followed South Wales Police, because you kind of think, well, that's a bit dry, isn't it? But actually they've made it quite fun and interesting. They've made it quite fun and interesting, kind of do a mix of educational stuff along with a load of I'll let you back in, Jan, if you want. So yeah, that's one that kind of I was like, oh, but I found it where I don't spend a lot of time on it and training it, quite difficult to find the sort of content I want to see. And of course, once you start liking one thing, it then sort of serves that up to you. And so like, you kind of almost got to really work hard at first to train it. But yeah, is there a particular industry you're interested in, or you just want to see how, because people do.
It was like, more of a generic question. So, your South Wales Police is a really good example then of where they've you know, where perhaps quite a traditional industry
This is it.
has taken that and has, you know, found a way to make it interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just having a look and seeing. And there are people who are non-traditional industries that you would think are perhaps, and I can't think of any names off the top of my head, but there are like solicitors that are doing it, and you know, and succeeding well with it. And I'll try and find, I got some example. Let me stop sharing that a minute and see if that helps. I'll try and find some examples of people so that you can go and at least have a look.
Yes.
Find the right.
I mean, we have a lot of
Can I just-
a lot of members in the Forester hospitality. You know, we've got a lot of hospitality businesses as well, so it's quite interesting to see how they.
I imagine Barmer Lawn do quite a lot on it because they've got quite a young kind of. So I
Right.
imagine Barmer Lawn are fairly
Yeah.
active on it because they've got quite a young management team,
Oh, okay.
and so it'd be interesting. Without knowing, I'd say they've probably got a few that are quite interesting to perhaps go and have a look at and see how they've done. Let me see if I can find some other.
If I suddenly disappear, it's because my battery is getting low and I'm not actually near a socket at the moment.
Fine. And I know Jan's struggling to see images as well. Let's have a look, see who. I had some earlier. I'll try and find some. I'll put it. I'll send
I'm
them
back
to Rob
again,
today.
by the way.
Oh, good. I'll send some to Rob so that he can sort of distribute it. There might be some American ones that are doing kind of the rounds. Oh, Royal Bank of Scotland is one.
Well, you don't get much more traditional than that, do you?
That's it. So like an insurance, but they're more American. Accounting, Intuit QuickBooks.
Yeah, that
On
would be. I think
TikTok.
that would be.
That'd
good.
be a
We've got
slightly
some
different one.
accountants. We've got some accountants here, so I think it would just be helpful to see that kind of
The
practical
other
demonstration. Yeah.
slightly more unique and more on the trend side. If you look up the singing dentist on TikTok,
Oh my God.
that is going to be more trend, isn't it? Than
It is a bit, yes. I don't know how many singing dentists we have in the New
That's it.
Forest, but you never know.
so there's a few to sort of go and have a quick look at and see what, you know, how they're making it work in those quite dry industries without bringing their brand perhaps into disrepute, so to speak.
Yes, God. That's really helpful. Thank you.
Anyone else got any questions or like comments?
No, it was a really good overview. It's one of those things now you have to go away and play.
You definitely have to go and have a play, and make time to go and have a play, really, because you have to spend some time watching video and see what kind of is resonating with you and the different types of things different people are doing. And of course you will see trends, but then the trends go away quickly and new ones come. So the best thing you can do first of all is go and sign up and be one of those dormant people. Even if you don't fill out your profile, you know, you just go and secure your username, because at some point, you know, we were all on Facebook at first, weren't we? At some point we probably will be forced to gravitate over there as the younger kids get off and onto something more trendy, as we go over there in our droves. So it's worth at least, and that's kind of what I've done. I've kind of gone, okay, I kind of see what it's about. I understand it. I know how to use it. And I'm strategically choosing not to do it at the moment. That's not to say I'm not occasionally going in, keeping an eye, and, you know, and I'll have a play and sometimes I'll upload some content, but I'm not doing it strategically. I'm kind of doing it to keep my oar in. And, you know, that's my decision for my business. And that might be the same for you. And you might take a look and you might go, actually, I can really see how I can apply this too. And I can see the results other people in my industry have had with this. And actually, I'm actually going to invest some time and start earlier than perhaps I did with the likes of getting on board with Instagram, and put my time and effort into doing this and growing this now, and actually come off perhaps another platform or do a platform less and focus more on TikTok, you know. And there's only so many we can do, isn't there? There's only so many platforms we can be on and do well. like myself, I kind of have to be on lots of them, but I tend to focus my efforts on Instagram because that's where I feel my audience is. That's not to say I can't use other platforms and I don't have a presence on other platforms, but my focus tends to be on Instagram.
Do you think it's acceptable to post similar
So you
clips?
kind of have to weigh those things up. And you can post all of it.
Do you think it's appropriate to post similar clips on Instagram and on TikTok?
I have, because I haven't had the time to think strategically about how I want to use TikTok differently. But I hate it because I know that if people are on Instagram and then come across TikTok, they're seeing the same video. And that's something I personally hate. And I say all the time not to do, because if you post the same content to Facebook as you post to Instagram, particularly if you're doing it on the same day, and I'm doing my board scroll in the evening or the morning or at lunchtime, and I'm going from one platform to the other, whichever platform I land on first and I see your content, if I'm a fan, I'm going to engage, I might comment. If I then go to Instagram from Facebook and see the same thing, no matter how much I love you, I am not commenting and liking it. Do you know what I mean? So one of the algorithms is going to go down the rankings and you don't know what the actions are. And even me, like sometimes I'll open Facebook first, sometimes I'll open Instagram first. So I would say if you're gonna go and have a play, and yeah, you can repurpose some of the content you've already done for the purpose of having a play, because when you're starting out you can make mistakes, can't you, because no one's there, no one's watching you. And you can archive them later if it's all rubbish and you decide, oh, I've got the hang of this now, all of this is rubbish, I'm now going to archive it. And you can of course do it on a personal app first if you want, so create a personal account, because that's what I used to always use the dog first as like kind of my testing mechanism. And of course dogs always do better than anything else anyway, so but you can do it on a personal account first and create 2 accounts, create a personal app for practicing silly things that then doesn't come back on your business if you're really worried about it. But yeah, if you're going to do it properly, you probably want to think of content that's going to be original to that platform, or at least is slightly tweaked for that platform. So you might, like I say, create an original video in say CapCut or InShot, and then don't have the text over the top, and then go and customize it in TikTok for that platform at one time, and then customize it with calls to action, with a slight tweak on it for Instagram, and perhaps post them at different times if it's relevant to be able to do that. That's probably the better way of doing it. So don't necessarily do what I've done. But to start with, you might want to do that just to have a bit of a play. Well, I've already made this kind of format for Instagram, so let's go and see how I might then repurpose that for TikTok, for example.
Is that something you've done already, Rob? Are you quite active for your business on Instagram and stuff?
No, I use Instagram quite a lot for personal stuff. I'm not using it for business purposes.
No.
And if I get a business contact, follow or apply to follow me, I'm quite selective about who I select. Otherwise, I get a lot of pressure from colleagues at Federation of Small Businesses to start promoting FSB stuff, and I don't want to do it on my personal Instagram channel.
No.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Rebecca, thank you very much. I found that really fascinating to look at, and it really made me realise I was quite right. I know nothing about any of this stuff, and I probably should never actually try and do it, because it would be a disaster if I actually tried to do it. But it's interesting if you sort of think about it from a business perspective, isn't it? Because it sounds very time consuming, and it's like for a business to really get stuck into that, it's like people need to be really clear what they think their return on investment is going to be in terms of their time investment into it, isn't it? Because otherwise I could see you could go down a bit of a rabbit hole with this and spend quite a lot of time trying to feed this sort of machine, and what really are you going to get from out the other side. And where so many of our New Forest businesses are the kind of small micro businesses, and you need to be doing all of these things, and so it sort of feels like it's the sort of thing that you'd need somebody like yourself to be doing for somebody to really get the most out of it.
Yeah, but even then that's why video, that's why so many people like video now, is because it is more authentic, because it kind of does have to be the business more doing it, because actually it's really difficult for the likes of me, unless I am next door to
Yeah.
you kind of thing to create video content for you, particularly with certain industries. And even if I can, as a small micro business, can you afford the time it's going to take me to create it and do it for you? Can you afford that? So it does become kind of quite difficult then, both, you know, because I would have to charge lots to be able to do it, and, you know, create lots of, get potentially, depending on the business, to create lots of video content, or you're going to have to send me lots of video content, which then you've already done the videoing, so it's kind of like it. And that's, I guess, why some people like it more, because it is less, you feel like it is the business doing it when they do post, rather than a social media manager and you're talking to, you know, you don't know who you're actually talking to, because it kind of, you either have to be a big organization that can afford to pay out, or you kind of have to get on board and do it yourself, or it has to be a mix. And I do some reels for some business owners as part of my social media management for them, but it's not particularly easy for me to do. And it's not the same as if they could do video either, because particularly if it's, you know, face on camera, there's only one person that can do that face on camera, isn't there? It's not me as a social media manager doing it for them. So that's one of the key things why people are sort of flocking to these types of video formats, because they get the real business generally. But then, like you say, you've got to kind of invest in it.
Yeah, but is it possible that you lose control of your video? Because, you know, there's those options where you can duet, and there was something else you could do with it.
Yeah, but you can lock that down, so you can say, oh, I don't want, you can toggle those on and off, so it won't necessarily be used in those ways. You can even turn off comments if you want.
Yeah, because I think that's the other thing, isn't it, that sort of worries you slightly from a business perspective. If once that's out there, so it's good to know you can archive things if you haven't quite got them as slick as you'd like them to.
And the same as anything really on the internet, once you put it out there, it can be screenshotted, screen recorded. So, you know, if you're a big company, you have to be, or a big figure, you have to be particularly careful about what you might do and then delete, because there are a number of people watching you. But as a smaller business, it's much easier to archive and delete in that frame. You know, it's not going to go viral on BBC News if you've made some kind of error in that format, as it would perhaps if you're a big celebrity.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if you're considering it, the thing to do is to plan how you're going to do it, and perhaps give it like a good sort of 6 months. I will invest in this and commit to this for 6 months, and look at my analytics as they start to come through as to what's working, what's not working, experiment with different formats, experiment with different things, and then see, weigh up, has it worked? Is it working for me like I wanted it to work? Is it worth my time? Is it worth my effort? And if the answer is yes, then of course, then you look at keep on doing it. And if the answer is no, then you look at, well, can I scale it back? Do I have another focus? Do I try something different? Or do I actually say, it's not this time, it's not working for me? And you can, of course, get advice from people in training, and, you know, to get off on the right foot a bit better. But I think the best thing you can do first is go in and have a look, and perhaps have a play and get a feel for it, and then take a step back rather than getting bogged down in it, and then think about it strategically, come up with a plan, and then attack it again. I think that's the thing to do if you're completely new to it. And that's not where I'm at yet. I'm at the, I've came, I've seen, I've had a little play. I might do a bit more, but I'm not doing it strategically. So it's not therefore worth my time.
Well, yeah, thanks, Becky, for sharing that journey with us. I think, you know, the rest of you are several steps behind you, so it's really, really good to have had that overview. I've certainly found it very interesting, and whilst I'm probably not going to be leaping out there to do videos right now, it does enable me to talk to people that I'm building websites for about the ways of using different platforms. So I find it really useful.
That's the thing. How have you found, actually, as an artist, have you found it differs to Instagram in terms of views? And oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, were you asking me?
Yeah, how have you found it, to having done a bit as an artist, say compared to Instagram, where you were quite active on Reels for a while as well?
Yeah,
How
I
does
mean,
it
I do.
compare?
I do reels on Instagram, but as you know, I've taken some time out, so
Of course you have.
I've been a bit missing on social
Yeah.
media for the last 2 or 3 months. But I do use reels, and I do find engagement has gone down on Instagram
Has.
generally anyway.
Yeah.
TikTok, Vicky
She's a
started.
teen, so she's the generation that
Yeah, exactly.
predominantly on it.
And I haven't looked recently because I think, like everyone else, you get sort of,
Yeah.
if you get too involved, you go down the rabbit hole of it all. And I've ignored it. But I know the videos that have been up there, one's an educational one on showing me doing a lino cut, for example. And that's had, a few thousand views, which, whereas something else which showed some work had a lot less.
Yeah.
So I think definitely for me, from an educational point of view, of showing my process or how to do something could be quite good.
Yeah.
But I haven't done any more.
But then you've got to think about as well, how does that then convert to sales of your artwork?
Exactly.
Unless you're going to be then running courses, which you may or may not do in the future.
And I think that's the thing.
Translate.
I would like to do courses, so perhaps videos showing me and showing people that I know my subject. It might be worthwhile.
Yeah. So then that becomes more of a strategy, doesn't it?
Yes.
I mean, it's okay to do those as a kind of behind the scenes every now and then, but you then look at, does that convert to
to business?
Yeah.
If Jan's going to do how-to videos, and lino cut's a great example, I hesitate to say this, but isn't it better to put it on YouTube because you'll get more search engine benefit that way?
It is, and this is where this whole repurposing thing comes in, doesn't it? And then equally with YouTube, you do have YouTube Shorts now, so you could repurpose your TikTok, and that's why they link to TikTok as well. To they have a link to YouTube. You can link your Instagram and your YouTube on your profile. So they sort of recognize that those are two places where you may want to repurpose to. And then you've got the difficulty of the format then, haven't you? Because traditional long form YouTube content is that way, and shorts are that way, and TikTok and Instagram Reels are that way. So then how do you film it? Do you film it twice? Do you film it and then crop it and have a lower quality? I think
as Rob found out at the weekend, if you put video up as a post, it gets cropped square, which took out a fair bit of what I was filming.
Yeah. So I think it's then, if you're going to put it on YouTube as longer form, this could be like your teaser, like your ad, to then go and watch the longer form content, or to sign up to the course where you get the access to the longer form video. It's that kind of thing, isn't it? You've almost got to see it as like TV ads, aren't they? They're snippet TV ads. So how can you entertain, educate, or sell in a 15-second video, isn't it? And it's almost like that teaser, which is why you want that call to action, which I think is then harder to do personally on TikTok, to make someone go somewhere else or take some kind of action, because the options are more limited.
Yes.
Which is why you've then got to be quite strategic about it. That's not to say it's not a place where you shouldn't be. And I think more and more it will perhaps become evident that perhaps more of us need to be there as times change. But
your opening point right at the start of this presentation was that it's where a young demographic is at the moment, and if you're selling to that, and I'm not sure whether any of us in this room necessarily are, but if that's what you're selling to, then you need to be there and doing it well.
I guess the most relevant here will be the Forge Theatre, won't it? So Helen, who's gone, it will be the Forge Theatre is the most obvious use case you can see. But then again, with that comes complications, doesn't it? Because if you're wanting to upload clips of children acting, you need permissions and all of those kind of things that then come with that. So yes, it is, but then it's not, and it's you get into those headaches and those kind of things. It's a bit like even with filming at say NFBP awards, isn't it? And then putting those out on social media. You kind of have to have that blanket policy that we will be filming this. You will be a bit like these. If you don't want to be on camera, then and active, then let us know and we'll try and avoid you or cut you out later. But it's not straightforward
No.
to do on a larger scale. So yeah. So the next one, as we were saying, not everyone was here, is the 13th of October, and it's actually in person at Balmerlawn. And apparently I'm going to solve all of your social media problems for everyone.
Oh, perfect.
Hooray.
Hey.
So the idea is that you can come and probably listen to what are some common social media problems for a lot of people, and bring kind of like things you're stuck with and hopefully get them answered. If you have particular things you think, and equally people could ask for a live review, as it's called, like actually put a profile or a post under scrutiny, and I'll select some to do on the day where you can say, well, this is my Instagram post, why didn't it do as well as it did do? And I could try and give some constructive pointers as why it may or may not have done so well, or whether actually it did do well. And actually, you know, Instagram engagement is 2.88%. So having done the conversion, actually you're above that. So those kind of things may be useful for you then to know. But if you do indeed have anything you'd like us to perhaps do a deeper dive on, then I think nearer the time, if you sign up, we'll then contact you and see if you want anything to put forward that we can go over. Because of course, we're not necessarily get around everyone's individual questions across Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok,
Pinterest.
Snapchat, all of them. Yeah, there's only so much you can do in an hour and a half.
Superb.
Okay, anything, Rob?
Okay,
That's it.
just to thank you for battling on against your flu. I think you warmed up a bit, didn't you, as you got going? So I'm sure.
And then nearly croaked.
Yeah.